you're single, right? No kids, you're not working at least 80 hours a week, the fact is that you're lazy.
I've said that, I've spoke about that before, the 80-hour work week. I used to speak about that quite a bit on this channel years back. And I mean, look, there's no excuse. You got no kids. I mean, this is a single man's channel. You know what time it is. You know what the deal is, right? This is a single man's channel. No kids, right? You're in a relationship. You've really got no other commitments. Why do you refuse to work 80 hours a week? And you might say, well, I don't want to work 80 hours a week. And that's completely fine. That's your own choice. But guess what? That means you are not justified in complaining about the result. Yeah, people love to complain about the result. They love to complain about, oh, I'm not making enough money. Yeah, but you're only working 40 hours a week though. You're not trying to make enough money. We've seen this explosion of loser men on the internet coming on YouTube in droves. Every second it feels like there's a new loser on the internet complaining about why and how he can't get ahead in life. He can't get where he wants in life. And my thing is, most of these guys aren't working. In fact, I've never seen any guy that's worked 80 hours a week. And if he is, he's working at the lowest of the low, minimum wage, crap, dead end jobs. I'm not talking about that. I've always told people to pursue something that's lucrative, pursue something that can give you a much better opportunities down the line in the future. Don't just pursue some dead end crap that's going to stick you in the same position 5 years down the line, in worse position due to inflation than you were even before. These are not the right kind of jobs that you should be pursuing and putting time in. Of course, if you need the cash and it's a temporary thing, by all means. But long term, you got to pursue something that is going to progressively earn you more and substantially more. If you're not doing that, then you're doing it wrong.
99% of people have no excuse for not being able to make 10 grand a month.
All right, let's look at that, right? Them in 5 years, us in 5 years. Let's take that look again, right? Let's slow that down a little bit, just so that we can, okay, so subway worker, crying, us in 5 years, Lambos and AP watches, right? Okay, so what they're essentially saying here is that, in 5 years you're going to be at the bottom of the food chain. Well, guess what? Let me tell you something. 5 years is not necessarily a long enough time to fix your life up. You got to understand that a working career traditionally is 40 years. 40 years. People always talked about the 40-year career. It's actually longer than that. But because, I mean, if you start your career at 20, let's say 22, 23, most people don't retire in their early 60s. It's actually longer than that. But, if you just say on a base level, a 40-year career, 5 years is 1/8 of your working career. So you expect to be rich or even well off in 1/8 of your working career. See, this is the problem. This is the problem with most people, and I've noticed this with a lot of socialist-minded people. It's like they seem to think that 5 years is a long time, that if you ain't got where you need to be in 5 years, somehow, it doesn't work. No, it doesn't. That's not how it is. I mean, I would say at least 10 to 15 years, give it at least 10 to 15 years. Now, I'm not saying if you're not making any progress whatsoever, but if you're making small progress, see, the problem is people give up. People give up way too soon. Now, I spoke about it on a stream years back. I spoke about building your foundation. I don't know if you guys remember, I spoke about laying your foundation years back on a live stream. Most guys ain't doing that. They're not laying down, well, these guys who complain, they're not laying a foundation for themselves so that they can flourish later on down the line. For me personally, I done the 80-hour hustle and grind. I'm not doing that anymore, but I'm still making more money now than I did when I was doing the 80-hour hustle. Why? Because I laid my foundation. And now that I'm smarter, now that I'm more experienced, I can do things a lot faster. I can make the money in, half the time, a third of the time spent that it used to take me. That's called being experienced, man. And that's where it takes time. It takes time to learn your craft. But getting to the top of your craft is you're not going to do it in 5 years, man. And that's the problem. Like, how many people really going to become rich in 5 years, become millionaires in their 20s? It's very uncommon. It's highly uncommon. Most rich people are in their 40s and 50s or even older. But these fake gurus have brainwashed people into believing get rich quick. And the funny thing is most socialists are also brainwashed into get rich quick. That's why they become socialists. Because they give up because they think, well, it doesn't work. Well, it does work, but it takes a lot longer than what you've been told. That's the problem here.
There's somebody living on
I celebrate capitalism.
$1 a day in Africa is getting up in the morning and saying, I'm going to be Bill Gates.
That's the motivation everybody needs.
If money.
Why going with extremes? I mean, $1 a day in Africa and then Bill Gates, you're going at two extremes. That's just a silly argument.
Is evil, then that building is hell. This is the most obnoxious group of money-hungry, low IQ, high energy, jackrabbit, fucking wannabe, big time, small time, shit talking, bothersome, irritating bunch of motherfuckers I have ever.
You sound like that guy Luigi who went on, off that guy. I mean, you sound like a crazy person.
Dropshipping, affiliate marketing, stock courses, and other internet side hustles have become
You see that what they push here? You see that what they push here? Buying a Lambo as a 24-year-old FX trade. This is what turns people into socialists. This is what turns people into doomers. Because you believe that's real. You go to a Lambo meetup as a 24-year-old, you ain't even gonna feel right. You ain't. I'm telling you. You go to a Lambo meetup as a 24-year-old, you ain't even gonna feel right because they're all gonna be in their 40s and 50s. Yeah, there are some professions where having a Lambo at 24, like being a sports star. If you're in the NBA, the NFL, you're a Premier League footballer, whatever, right? Yeah, because your teammates are gonna have a Lambo. Because you're all in that team, you're all making millions, so that's fine. But as a regular guy having a Lambo at 24 years old, I don't think that's particularly cool to me. I mean, what are you doing? I mean, most of these guys are just trying to flex on to get chicks. That's all it really is. I mean, But like I said, the average age of a supercar owner is like in your 50s. I don't know about Lambo, but Ferrari, most people who own Ferraris are in their 50s. You can go on YouTube and put like Ferrari meetup. A 24-year-old punk kid in a Lambo, that's what they're selling to you, that's real. But it's not real. And like I said, you can find that out easily yourself.
And other internet side hustles have become staples in our modern lexicon. It seems like all of us know at least one person who has started an e-commerce business, YouTube, OnlyFans, or any other avenue.
No, bro. That's not part of what we do here. Okay, cut that out.
Additional income online. Most people don't want to admit it, but the mass influx of people trying to lurk online hasn't come from nowhere. In the quest to defeat hustle culture,
why did I work online? Because when I went out into the job market, about a decade ago, I wasn't getting the results. And for me, I personally said, well, let me try and make some money for myself because I'm not taking these super low-end jobs. And I'm glad I didn't. Because that's what a lot they did even a decade ago. They tried to funnel you into these low-end jobs below your grade. I'd rather try my own luck and make my own cash than do that.
Run to other avenues that perpetuate the same systems that they're against. Hustle culture can be defined as the glorification of working very long hours in hopes of reaching one's professional goals. It also goes hand in hand with extreme materialism and neglect of hobbies and relations outside of work. People who are deep into hustle culture typically live up to the 9-to-5 worker stereotype. They deal with imposing bosses that they work very hard to impress, work longer hours in the pursuit of having more income, and constantly seek new ways and avenues to accumulate more wealth, moral or not. Now, this is not to be confused with people who need to work longer hours to pay for necessities. Hustlers do extra work to satisfy and maintain luxury lifestyles that they seek out, whether or not they get it. And the
Alright, so
truth of the matter,
that's the thing. I mean, he's talking about you working hard for a luxury lifestyle. Yeah, what's wrong with that? But it's not only that, though. It's not only that. When you work, right, you're not doing self-sabotaging behaviors. For example, I don't want to, like, if I don't work and I'm not sleeping and I'm not educating myself, what am I going to go back to? Playing video games, become a hardcore gamer again, which wasn't good for my mental health. It wasn't good for my physical health. You know, same thing with, social media usage, high social media usage, drug usage. Weed is very popular among youths. Alcohol abuse, and even going out there and chasing girls, PUA, and all this nonsense. All this other self-destructive behaviors is not only the money and the success and the luxury, but you're also avoiding these bad behaviors. You're also avoiding these bad habits. Ultimately, and it's unfortunate, but for a lot of us, if we're not working, we're going to engage in bad habits. I know that when I wasn't working long hours before, that's what I was doing, man, bad habits.
is that only the survivors glorify hustle culture. In this day and age, you've probably heard people on social media discussing escaping the rat race, not being a 9-to-5 slave, Matrix, and other main character feel-good speeches and think pieces. Nobody wants to take orders from higher-ups for their entire lives, especially while not being given a sufficient standard of living. However, most of the solutions marketed to the working class are just hustle grind set ideals wrapped in sugar-coated social media posts and news articles. If you need 3 extra streams of income to live comfortably, you're not escaping the matrix, you're buying your way out. A lot of people have...
Of course you're buying your way out. That's why I told you guys from the start, it's a slavery system. We're still living under a slavery system. Escaping the matrix, I was going to make a video. Why escaping the matrix is almost impossible. Why most people won't escape the matrix. Can't remember the name I was going to give it, but something along those lines. But that's immaterial. If I make the video or not, I don't know if I'm going to make it. But the thing is that escaping the matrix, you can't really escape the system. It's just about buying your way out the system. That's what it is. When you're retired, you're no longer paying income tax. You own properties, you're no longer paying a mortgage. And you're not fully out the system, but as much as you can, right?
Subconsciously realize this truth, but instead of falling into hustle culture directly or simply going off grid, they migrate to finding side hustles online. Internet money and get rich schemes seem lucrative to the average person.
I don't believe in get rich. Get rich is a scam. I mentioned that before. If you're falling for that, you're stupid. Sorry, but that's the truth.
Making YouTube videos for money or upselling sweatshop products.
Making YouTube videos ain't gonna make you no real money unless you're in the top, like maybe 0.1%. The money on YouTube has gone down a lot, man. That's why you got guys like Review Tech USA. I mean, I'm gonna talk about Review Tech USA in another video, but these guys are not making really any money anymore. The money on YouTube has gone down, and people are still pursuing YouTube. It's a waste of time at this point.
For a higher profit from the comfort of your own home seems easy until you learn the logistics, effort, and survival.
Well, nothing's really easy because you're gonna have to deal with your competition. You're gonna have to stay focused. You're gonna have to be focused on growth, and you're gonna have to basically deal with different legal changes, whether that be Trump tariffs, whether that be the war in Ukraine, energy prices, whether that be Brexit or whatever the hell goes on. you're gonna have to deal with those challenges that come your way. So it's never really that easy. Yes, some businesses are easier than others, but it doesn't tell you about how much success you're gonna necessarily have. It's still, to get to the top of any industry is not easy. And I was talking about first-time small business owners have a success rate of 18%. It's not really true, because when you pursue a business, for example, a lot of these businesses that they open up, these are restaurants, these are bars, these are nightclubs. We all know that restaurants, I mean, you see new restaurants pop up all the time, and the reason why they always popping up is because the previous location closed down. If you've lived in an area long enough, you've seen certain restaurants change locations. Like, that location has changed to different restaurants 10 or 15 times. I mean, I've seen that. It's almost like every year there's a new one popping up. But people keep going into these businesses, restaurants, nightclubs, bars. You know, that's why the business success rate is so low. But we're talking about the online world primarily. I'm not sure the success rate of the online world, but the online world is more stable. I certainly would encourage people to start an online business. I have encouraged people to start an online business, and I never really failed at any business that I started online. So, you know, and I'm no, specialist. I'm no special. I don't consider myself to be anything special, but you know, it's all about what you pursue at the end of the day. If you pursue a nightclub, if you pursue having a restaurant, good luck to you. That's all I got to say.
Bias that permeate these areas. It's easy to buy into the fantasy of dropping out of high school to day trade when you don't know that the dudes taking pictures of their sports cars get $20,000.
Why do you keep watching these guys? This is the problem. Stop watching. I've always said this. Select something that you want to do and focus on it and stick at it. Don't worry about what other people are doing. You know, don't worry about what other people are doing. If you know that you can make money in this industry, right, then go ahead. Don't let these people sidetrack you, because what happens is guys keep chopping and changing. No, stick to the same craft. If you know you can make money in this industry, you want to make 10 grand a month, at least. If you know you can make 10 grand a month in this industry, then get to bloody 10 grand a month. You know, don't keep chopping and changing. Oh, this might be easier, or this. Nah, that's how you become finished, man. That's how you become a straight up loser, and you don't ever become successful at anything.
It's also easy to claim that you hate the matrix and rich elites while you use sweatshop labor to sell fitness yoga pants for profit. After all,
that's called working within the system to come out the system. So you don't understand that. I spoke about that before. You can't defeat the system. So sometimes you have to work within the system to come out the system. This is what people don't understand. Oh, I'm against the system, I'm against the system. Okay, you're against the system. It doesn't mean you're for the system, right? You're doing what you have to do to escape the system. Just like buying your way out of slavery. You know, you can sit there and do nothing on the plantation, or you can do the work so that you don't have to be a slave no more. It's that simple.
Better than working a dead-end job that you hate, right? The problem that arises, however, is that these side hustles are still products of hustle culture. The fear-mongering of the average work life in the United States and the neglect of wealth hoarding and inequality has led to a disconnect in our view on the value of our own labor and our relations with fellow
humans. Music is too loud, you're speaking too fast, you know, but produce better videos, man. With the subscriber and views that you're getting, you should be producing. I know my videos aren't well produced, but I'm not getting hundreds of thousands of views or even tens of thousands of views.
Hobbies are turned into methods of profit while the pursuit of money is prioritized. All of these aforementioned factors, including hustle culture, are normalized due to the refusal to critique capitalism and the eventual monopoly of assets by bigger fish.
Okay, you can critique it and you're still poor. Well done.
In our economy. Instead of calling for regulations, workers' rights, or less work hours, the opposite path is to adapt and rationalize.
So you want people to do that? Okay, you can do it. Why you want me to do it? I don't need to do it. If you want to call for that, you can call for that. But you're telling me to call for that, right? when you're making money on YouTube to tell people to call for that. But you want me to take my precious time, which I could be using to make money, to do that for you. No, I ain't doing that for you. Because you're playing that political game like that fraud Gary Stevenson. Oh, we have to play politics. No, we don't have to play politics. We don't have to play politics, man, at all. You want us to play politics because you're getting money from us playing politics. They're no different to fake gurus. If they were genuine, they would have a demonetized channel. But they're not. These fake socialists, Hassan Abi and all these people buying a 2 million house in Hollywood Hills and pretending he's just for the poor. You know, this is a joke. I mean, if you follow these guys, you're just as stupid as people who follow, you know, the rest of the fake gurus on the internet. There's no difference. There's no difference between socialists who push the fake guru in their own way and the fake guru that's pushed by the likes of, you know, Hormozy or the rest of them. I mean, Patrick Bet David, Grant Cardone. There's no difference. They're making money for selling you a lie. That's all it is. I don't even make money off YouTube, and I'm selling you the truth. I'm giving you the truth for free. They're making money selling you a lie, but they're getting the views and I'm not. Because people don't want the truth. And that's why I don't feel sorry for people. I don't feel sorry for people because people really don't want the truth. They want what sounds good. You know, people don't have critical thinking skills. That's why all these idiots get so many views on YouTube. People don't have critical thinking skills. I don't know why people are so dumb, but that's not my problem and that's not my fault.
Why complain about systems supposedly out of your control when you can work 80-hour weeks and build yourself up to be Jeff Bezos?
Who said I have to be Jeff Bezos to have a good life? I don't need a 200 million yacht. I don't even want that. You know, it's like, who said you have to be? These guys have more money than you need to live a good life. I'm talking about making enough money so that you can live the life that you've always dreamed of, man. Which for most people is making millions, tens of millions, not even necessarily hundreds of millions, bro. Like millions to tens of millions is enough. You know, and you can have it easier by going overseas, leaving the Western world. I've spoken about that at length on this channel. You know, but that's the thing. It's like you guys push extremes to try and make your point stronger, but really it's not. It doesn't change anything.
Workers are so entitled, they're lucky to even have jobs. You don't have to be a communist to call out the end game of capitalism. However, in the United States, you will be ostracized and labeled as such. Hard work pays off is a popular quote.
You know, communists are already. I mean, you know, I mean, when you criticizing the capitalist system or whatever is already accepted in the Western world. What are you talking about? I mean, you know, you say that you're ostracized. This isn't the 70s anymore, you know, the time of the Cold War. I mean, you can criticize capitalism as much as you want in the modern West. I don't know what this guy is talking about. He's just making stuff up to sound smart.
Americans, and is further perpetuated by the people who have made it. Just as rich celebrities thank God for
I don't follow celebrities, they're frauds. Why you keep following these people? That's part of your problem. Why you keep following these people?
Blessings, the high rankers of capitalism thank the system for allowing them to obtain a mass amount of assets and power. When working class people take these billionaires at face value, we decide to fight and toil to be among the 1%.
You ain't fighting nothing. You know,
rather than realizing that we hold all the economic leverage.
No, we don't hold all the economic leverage. You know, we don't hold all the economic leverage, actually. First of all, we're not even all on the same page. So, you know, you could make an argument that if everybody's on the same page, we could hold economic leverage, but that's not going to happen. That's never going to happen. You know, that's never going to happen. But even still, your economic leverage is going down with AI, with robots. So live in the real world. See, what these guys do is they sell you a fantasy, just like the fake guru. They sell you a fantasy, and then they sit around and try to tell you that you have to unite with us to get what you want. But me uniting with you doesn't guarantee me anything. You know, it can put you in a worse position. In fact, it almost certainly will put you in a worse position uniting with these people. They're selling you a dream. They're not selling you something that they can factually prove is going to work or is even going to happen in the first place.
Unfortunately, the fantasy of making it from nothing and having your hard work and side hustles
But
pay
you're
off.
selling a fantasy yourself. I'm not selling a fantasy. I can already go to Southeast Asia and live in luxury if I want to, you know. So how am I selling a fantasy? I'm not selling no fantasy. Now those trolls are selling a fantasy because they're fake gurus. But those fake gurus, they don't prove that hustling doesn't work. You know, how does that disprove hustling works? See, you're using fake gurus to prove, it doesn't prove anything. I'm not a fake guru. I've done YouTube for free out of the goodness of my own heart, okay? And I'm in a way better position than I was 10 years ago, man. I was unemployed 10 years ago playing video games 8 hours a day. So, you know, I didn't have no help, man. I didn't come from a rich family. I didn't have any social media presence. It's just hard work, man. It's just hustle and grind. And that's what I'm telling people, the real world. I'm not telling people a fantasy world. You're selling people a fantasy world that everybody's going to get on the same page and go against, use that leverage that they have to demand more from the rich elites. That's not realistic at all. You know, that's just as stupid as telling somebody they're gonna be driving a Lambo and a Ferrari and a Bugatti at age 21. You know, these are ridiculous concepts that both of you guys push ridiculous concepts. I'm somebody who always takes, the reasonable, the middle ground. I'm not somebody who goes to extremes. You're looking at the fake guru of, you can call it capitalism and not necessarily the fake gurus of capitalism, but you're looking at the fake gurus of capitalism and the fake gurus of socialism. Both are wrong. Both are extremists.
Is more alluring in this day and age than uniting with your fellow workers and risking your workplace image. The crabs in a bucket mentality that comes along with hustle culture has
You're
also been
pushing crabs in a bucket. You don't even realize it.
disastrous. People in the same income bracket argue and fight over who's lazier based on standards set by the rich. Of course, the problem isn't your greedy boss/CEO cutting corners for profit. It's your neighbor who gets unemployment checks because they pay more than a full-time job does.
Now he's pushing the fact that people are exploiting the welfare system. You know, he's saying, and that's what they do. They say, well, people exploiting the welfare system is fine because of the rich. You know, but who's paying the taxes to fund the welfare system? It's not the rich. Now you could say, well, the rich should pay the tax. Yeah, you can say they should, but who is doing it though? I don't care about who should. I'm talking about who's doing it right now. The working man is paying it, right? So your argument is stupid.
Elon Musk takes money from the government to make shitty promises. Tesla, Cybertruck, boring tunnel, free speech, Twitter.
Yeah, Elon Musk has been helped his whole life. I don't look at Elon, and I don't care about Elon Musk anyway. You know, look at people who aren't famous, who aren't billionaires, who aren't celebrities, who made it from your own town, from your own, maybe even your own family, right? Stop looking at these people. That's why you're so mentally messed up and you're making doomer content, not this guy in particular, but people who do this or make doomer content because you keep looking at these people. You keep looking at hot chicks on the internet, you keep looking at hot chicks and all these guys with hot chicks, and you go into that space and start talking about can't get hot chicks. Yeah, you stop looking at these people and focus on your own life, focus on your own craft.
He's a genius, but when a working class person games the system, they're a leech. As Marx once said, it is not the consciousness of men that determines their
So you say he's not communist, but he's quoting Karl Marx.
but on the contrary, they're social being that determines their consciousness.
Okay.
While hustle culture may have initially promised success and achievement, its impact
I don't call it no culture. I just call it doing what it takes to improve your situation. I don't know about anything about a culture. I never saw what I'm doing as being part of any kind of subculture. I just saw it as pursuing a craft, getting good at a craft, and making more money so that you know, I can live the life I wanted overseas, man. That's all I looked at. I never looked at it as no part of no culture.
Generation cannot be ignored. The relentless pursuit of productivity has taken a toll on mental health, work-life balance, and personal fulfillment.
Yeah, it takes a toll on your mental health when you're watching these people on the internet. It doesn't matter what political side they're on. Social media in general is bad for your mental health. Doesn't matter if it's capitalist, you're listening to capitalists, or you're listening to socialists. It doesn't matter. All of it is bad.
It is crucial for individuals to reassess their priorities, redefine success on their own terms, and prioritize.
Yeah, redefine success on your own term. Exactly. I'm not against that. But these guys are sitting around complaining about not having enough money when they're not working to make enough money. That is stupidity.
Their well-being above all else. Instead of adapting and slaving away for a system that's rigged against the common citizen with no capital and connections, we should be more mindful of the power we have together.
He's pushing that fantasy of we're gonna all unite, and you know, these people are just living in Disneyland, man. But anyways, I got the next videos on Gary Stevenson should be coming soon, and Review Tech USA should be coming soon, and anti-gaming content. I'm not gonna do these too many of these you know, not lolcows, but these losers on the internet. I'm not gonna be responding to too many of those in the future. But it's the Unreal Man here, Truth Man. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe if you aren't already. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you're informed every time I upload a new video.